Everybody, thank you for joining us for the third hearing on MTA proposed fare changes. Thanks to everybody who's participating in person and also folks who are remote. There's a little logistics before we start the public comment period. My friend, Mr. Flynn, is going to explain the mechanics of this process, and then you're going to hear a presentation on the fare changes with a few details from Jesse Lazarus. But we'll be here to listen and look forward to hearing from the public on all these issues. Mr. Flynn.
Yes. Good evening and welcome to the MTA's Fare Change public hearing. And for the record, today is August 20th, 2025, and the time is 5:01. My name is Jonathan Flynn from the MTA. My colleague Nick Fasano and I will be the hearing officers for tonight's public hearing. This hearing will be live streamed on the MTA's YouTube channel and recorded. It will be available to review on the MTA's website and YouTube channel. By attending this virtual hearing, you consent to being recorded. This is the third of the 3 hybrid public hearings to provide the public with the opportunity to comment on the proposed changes to MTA fares affecting transportation on the subways, buses, commuter railroads, and Staten Island ferry and accessoride. To make the public aware of these hearings, advertisements were published in 21 print media outlets, including multilingual outlets throughout the region. The MTA also provided notice of the hearing in multiple press releases and on the MTA's website, on social media, and on multilingual sites and digital displays in the stations, buses, and trains. We encourage anyone joining us on Zoom to take a short survey using the QR code and link currently being displayed. This survey helps us understand the effectiveness of our outreach. This link to the survey can also be found in the Q&A section of Zoom. If you are unable to join the public hearing, you can also provide comments on the MTA's website at mta.info/2025-fare-hearing. You may also send a letter to MTA Government Community Relations with your comments to 2 Broadway, 16th floor, New York, 1004, or call the public hearing hotline at 646-252-6777. Telephone agents are available from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily. MTA will also hold public comment sessions throughout the transit network to collect customer comments on the proposed fare changes. Starting August 25th, staff will be stationed at subway stations, mobile sales vans, and in Long Island Railroad and Metro North stations on certain days and time. Visit mta.info/2025-fare-hearings for the full schedule. All public comments, including comments spoken today and at other public hearings, online portal submissions, letters, phone calls, and comments provided at public comment sessions in the transit network will be transcribed and incorporated into our official records. All comments carry the same weight regardless of how they were submitted. Comments are provided to all MTA board members so they can review it prior to their final consideration on a fare changes proposal. In addition, you will notice that there are MTA staff stationed at tables outside of the hearing room. In this space, staff are on hand to talk about how to use Tap and Go for fare payments. Staff will also provide information about the MTA's reduced fare program for seniors and people with disability and New York City Fair Fares program. If you're eligible, you can also sign up for New York City Fair Fare program here on the spot. I would like to turn it over now to Jesse Lazarus, MTA's Deputy Chief of Commercial Ventures, for a brief presentation about the proposed fare changes. After Jesse concludes her presentation, we will begin public comment portion of the hearing.
Thank you, Jonathan, and thank you so much to the members of the public for joining us to participate in this public hearing. We are grateful for your time and your effort to comment, no matter where you're commenting or how you're reaching us, whether that's here in this room tonight, on Zoom this evening, or in writing at any time, which is how we traditionally receive the majority of public comments on proposed fare and toll fare changes. So before we review the details tonight, I want to contextualize that Residents of the New York region have among the lowest transportation costs in the country. As the overwhelming majority of New Yorkers understand, because they use public transit every day, the MTA is what keeps New York affordable. And fares and tolls are what keep the MTA running, and running frequent service. We strive to make fare and toll increases small and predictable. And in fact, 15 years ago, after an extensive study led by Dick Ravitch, the MTA adopted a pattern of small and predictable fare and toll increases every 2 years. And we've been acting in compliance with this policy ever since. This has protected us all from the double-digit percentage increases like we experienced in the 1980s, and has helped the MTA keep service levels steady. This has been good for customers, and it's helped us keep pace with general expense increases and generic inflation. So we're here to talk about a fare increase. What does a fare increase get us? The bottom line is it's more transit for everybody. And the MTA has been doing more with less already. We're running more frequent service than ever before, powered by the talented men and women of the MTA workforce who keep this system running 24/7 and receive regular wage increases. We do this while maintaining free and discounted programs for targeted affordability, like Student Omni, the reduced fare program, 1.5 million members strong, or the Fair Fares program with hundreds of thousands of customers receiving half-fare trips, while also subsidizing city tickets and the unlimited ride fare caps. We're managing an aggressive operating efficiency program that's $500 million in recurring annual savings, and doing so without cutting service, all while keeping customer satisfaction scores the highest they have been in a long time. So tonight, we welcome your comments on the details of our plan to grow service and keep transit the linchpin of affordability in New York. So let's dive into the details, beginning with New York City Transit. Starting on the left with subways, local buses, and paratransit, we're proposing a 10-cent increase to the base fare, up from $2.90 to $3. We're proposing the 12-trip fare cap would go up to $36. That's for unlimited rides in 7 days, no prepayment required, unlimited rides on subway and local buses. Of course, those 1.5 million reduced fare customers I mentioned earlier will receive half price base and fare cap trips, so $1.50 or $18 on the fare cap. For Express Bus on the right, we're proposing a 25-cent increase, so from $7 to $7.25, and reduced fare customers can ride for half price in the off-peak. Also, we're introducing a new fare cap product, this one for Express Bus customers. Starting in January, Express Bus riders would never pay more than $67 in a 7-day period for unlimited Express Bus, local bus, and subway trips. And again, that is without prepaying for the unlimited ride benefit. On the fare product menu side, as you know, Metro card sales will end New Year's Eve this year, and we're going all in on tap and go. So here I'll introduce the straightforward and financially flexible offerings for subway and bus in the tap and go era. First, the fare capping program will become permanent. It has just been promotional up until now. And second, as you heard me describe earlier, we're bringing a second fare cap to life, this time for Express Bus customers. The third change related to the two I just mentioned is that we're leaving this concept of a pay up front for unlimited ride discount product behind with the Metro card. We want unlimited rides to be available to everyone, including those who cannot afford to pay up front for that discount. So the fare cap is a better tool for affordability and therefore for our customers. We have heard, though, from customers who want to budget in advance. And for these customers, you will still be able to preload dollars onto an Omni card to take advantage of the fare cap. But with tap and go, if you don't use the money that's on the card, you will keep what is left. Finally, moving into the tap and go era fully means that every rider will have to tap to enter. So buses, just like subways, will no longer accept cash or coins for payment on board. But rest assured, there are 2,700 local businesses selling Omni cards for cash or for the 1% who are paying with coin today. So with everyone having to tap, we can fully deploy proof of payment on buses and conduct more thorough fare enforcement. On the railroads, we're proposing a 4.4% increase on the one-way peak, weekly, and monthly tickets. I'll note that fares, our monthly fares specifically, are still lower in this proposal than they were before COVID, and nothing is more than $500. City ticket and Far Rockaway ticket will follow Express Bus, of course, so those will increase by a quarter or 25 cents. So that's $7.25 in the peak and $5.25 in the off-peak. These products are so beloved and have been widely adopted by our customers that we're recommending we make those permanent rather than promotional products, as they have been to this day. Lastly, we're going to make sure that one-way tickets within New York City are aligned with city ticket prices so that customers are always sure to get the best deal. Now we'll talk about the proposed changes to railroad ticketing rules. We're proposing these changes because we have seen a lot of change in ticket patterns in recent years. The first primary change is really just how railroad customers buy their tickets. That's on Train Time now, our mobile ticketing application. Second, Train Time's success, when combined with the volume of tickets purchased on Train Time, has started to have some unintended consequences of slowing conductors down as they're doing ticket collection, who need to wait for customers to activate their tickets. And so we need to deal with that now. These changes I'll discuss are intended to help speed up fare collection, so every ticket may be checked. The first change is that all reduced fare customers will now be able to ride 24/7 at all times, including the formerly excluded morning peak. The second change is that instead of asking customers to buy and activate a ticket before they board, customers just need to buy a ticket before they board. There won't be a second activation step. All one-way tickets will auto-activate, and they will be valid for 4 hours. Third, we're introducing a new day pass for unlimited travel until it's valid until 4 a.m. the next day. This will replace the current round trip product and introduce a new discount on the weekdays. This is ideal for day trippers or remote workers with periodic in-office days, and introduces a new opportunity for hop-on, hop-off travel. Next, customers who take 10 trips in 2 weeks will automatically receive an 11th trip for free, which can be used to redeem peak or off-peak, so long as the zone combinations are the same. This replaces the existing 10-trip pack, introducing a new discount on the peak, and is ideal for customers who feel the weekly or monthly isn't quite right for them. And finally, to help customers remember to buy before you board and eliminate any incentive to wait and see or wait and activate, we're introducing an onboard surcharge for mobile tickets, just like we have for paper tickets today. We haven't increased that surcharge since 2009, so we're proposing to increase it by $2 for both mobile and paper tickets. But a series of escalating warnings within Train Time will help new or infrequent customers avoid that surcharge. So in closing, a very sincere thank you to those who are taking time to participate in tonight's hearing or sharing comments wherever that is most convenient for you. You can scan this QR code to learn more about alternative methods for commenting. And with that, Jonathan, I will pass it back to you to describe the procedures for tonight's hearing.
Thank you, Jesse. We will now move to the public comment portion of today's hearing. Now I will describe the procedures for today's hearing. As a reminder, only those who are registered to speak can give public comments. I will call the names of people who are registered to speak in order that they were registered. In fairness to each speaker, comments are limited to 2 minutes. At the 1.5 minute mark, visual and auditory cues will remind you that you have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. Comments should relate to the purpose of this hearing, changes to New York City Transit, Long Island Railroad, and Metro North fares. All registered speakers must adhere to the rules of conduct and decorum. Zoom participants are muted upon joining. When your name is called, please turn your camera on and microphone by clicking the camera and microphone icons on the bottom of your Zoom screen. There will be a brief transition to let you access your video and microphone. During that time, please ensure your microphone and camera, if desired, are on before you begin your remarks. You have 10 seconds to turn on your camera and microphone before we move on to the next speaker. For all commenters in Zoom, in the room and on Zoom, when you begin your comments, please provide your name, affiliation you wish to announce so that we have it for the record. You may also request to speak anonymously. If this is your preference, please notify an MTA staff member in the room and indicate that this is your Zoom Q&A function and receive further instructions. In the event your name is called and you do not present, we will read your name again, and at the end of the hearing, we will call your name in order that it was called. American Sign Language and CART captions are available at this hearing. To access captioning at the bottom of your screen, select CC, and you'll be able to turn on and enlarge the captions based on your preference. You can also view the entire transcript for context if needed. Users will not need to adjust their screens to see American Sign Language. Finally, MTA officials presented beside me will not answer questions. They are here to listen. MTA staff are available in this room, outside this hearing room, and in the Zoom question and answer function to answer your questions about the fare change proposal. The Q&A function is only available if you're logged into the Zoom webinar and if it's located on the lower portion of your Zoom window. If you are attending via Zoom, type your question into the Q&A function. MTA staff may answer your question if it pertains to the subject of this hearing. I will call the first speaker of the public hearing. As a reminder, if you are not participating via Zoom, there will be a brief transition to allow you to turn on your camera and unmute your camera microphone. Our first speaker of the evening is Lisa Daglian, followed by Sebastian Cola.
Hi, good evening. I'm Lisa Daglian, the Executive Director of the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA PCAC. We support incremental, predictable fare increases to keep our trains and buses operating frequently and reliably. Without them, we'd be in the same desperate position as Philly and Chicago, facing severe service cuts and drastic price increases. We also support the switch to Omni and look forward to its integration with train time. We're grateful that you've included our longstanding recommendation to allow seniors, disabled, and Medicare-eligible riders to use their discounts in the morning peak on the railroads. It will be life-changing. The fare cap on express buses is another good addition. You've heard or will hear from our members and other riders across the system about additional opportunities to make the proposed fare increases more palatable. A city ticket weekly with transfers to subways and buses. Combining the current 5 city zones into one so the cost of a weekly or monthly doesn't vary on a railroad within the city. A unified city zone to allow riders to travel between railroads within the city. Keeping the 10 trip on the railroads. Without it, 10 off-peak rides could go up as much as 23%. A 30 and single-day fare cap to keep prices lower for the most regular riders. A mid-kid, family-friendly fare for 12 to 17-year-olds that makes it less expensive to ride the railroads than to drive. Urging the city to increase fare fares to 200% FPL combined with expanding it to the railroads in the city. A dialogue about the 4-hour auto activation that satisfies riders, workers, and addresses the fare evasion issue it purports to address. More hearings across the region with more time to comment, more board members present. Don't rush a vote. Please discuss, deliberate, and reconsider some of these important policies. Transit's a lifeblood of our region, supporting the economy that reaches far beyond the MTA's borders. Keeping it on track is critical. Fare increase will help. Please help support riders as well by listening to these common sense pleas. Thank you.
The next speaker is Sebastian Cola, followed by Jerry Walton.
Hello, my name is Sebastian Cota, and I am a resident and commuter of Uptown Manhattan and the Bronx. And I commend the MTA for their work on improvements across the system, especially with the addition of elevators at multiple stations. But I am concerned with the proposal to increase the fare when there is currently no transparency in seeing the fare balance when using an Omni card at stations and buses. This is especially important for residents who might have difficulty with technology and cannot open up an Omni account and check their fare balance online, even with using machines. That's why I think it's very important that if we're going to discuss proposing a fare increase, we should also look at providing a digital display that shows how much fare is remaining on a person's card so they can see without having to go to a machine or on the bus when they can't check elsewhere, have to get quickly onto their bus. So I challenge you to think about filling up your Omni card with $20 and figuring out when it might come off or when it might expire. Because I myself am a fair fares recipient and I put in the preloaded amount, but it finished before the set 12 rides. So it's kind of confusing to see where did it go wrong without having to check online. And again, that's a privilege that not everyone has across the city in a very diverse population. Also, in terms of fare enforcement at emergency exit gates, I see the need as that is a critical point for a lot of fare evasion, but I think the people who are standing at those fare gates, or at those gates, can also be there to inform residents about the fair fares program and not simply criminalize poverty, knowing that there's already a lot of correlation between the boroughs and the zip codes with the lowest income who have the highest fare evasion. At the end of the day, we all have places to be. It's important to also think about how can we support those who are in need and not informed about programs like fair fares. It's beautiful to have the tabling outside on the fair fares program. It would be nice to have that all across the city and deep out in the outer boroughs and not just in Manhattan. Thank you for listening.
The next speaker is Jerry Walton, followed by Brittany Atkinson.
Good evening, everyone. I'm a little nervous, but I'll try to do the best that I can. I'm a resident of Northern Manhattan. I take the A train every day. It's the main line that goes in and out of our neighborhood. I commend the MTA for what they're trying to do, but I have to be honest, I don't support it because for the past how many weekends we've been in a situation where they're doing work in Northern Manhattan. We have not had a train service on the weekends for God knows how long. It's extremely tough. It's not fair that we should have to deal with the constant over and over again of this. You're talking about implementing a fare increase, but most New Yorkers feel as if you're bleeding them dry, and I can't say that I blame them. Now, at the end of the day, you guys are going to deliberate and make whatever decisions you feel is necessary. But all I'm asking is that just please listen to the rest of us, listen to everyday New Yorkers, and hear what they have to say before you do this. Now, I'm not the only one who feels this way, but I just wanted to let you know where I stand, and it's not right. So the service could be a lot better. And that's it. Thank you.
The next speaker is Brittany Atkinson, followed by DeMarc Debartier.
Hi, can you guys hear me? Thank you for your time. I wanted to say there's a few things I see wrong with the MTA. I understand you guys are proposing like increase and stuff like that, but I feel like it should be a program or some type of, I guess, meeting like this where we guys address the issues versus like telling us what you guys are going to propose. Address some of the issues as far as like the Omni transfers. When you take the train and you try to transfer from the train to the bus, we don't get that transfer. Either charge your extra charge, and then when you try to go to the person at the booth, they tell you to go online, and then when you got to go online, it's like a whole circle where you no longer get help. Another issue is the accuracy of the train time. Like a train will say it's coming at a certain time, and then it don't come, and then when you check the app, it will say a whole nother thing. And when it's certain trains that are local, they go express, and it will mess up like the train time. Like me, I work 8 to 4 in the morning times, and the 2-in-1 train, they are not the best, especially when you get off at 4 trying to go like the morning commute and the afternoon commute the time is inaccurate, and that's it for me. Thank you.
The next speaker is DeMarc Barlatier, followed by Daisy.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me? Good evening. Hi, everybody. My name is Demarc Balache. I'm a member of the December 12 movement, and I'm a resident of New York City. Been for 29 years. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and this fare hike is unjust, and it doesn't make any sense. There hasn't been any transparent data to say that this fare hike is going to help people get better transit systems when there's many things that you guys need to focus on, whether it's like police brutality on the train. I make over $200,000, right, in a year, and I still get harassed by police on the train. I pay my fare, and that's unjust, right? I'm paying, and I'm still being harassed, right, as a middle class worker. And we have also I help poor class, working class people figure out fair fares. That's a system that's not promoted well to community residents. And there's other things that you can do with the money that you do. Having fare evasion policies and procedures that don't make sense, and giving money to private investors when you can give it to the residents should be something that you should be thinking about. Affecting residents and working class and poor class people shouldn't be on your mind, right? This fare hike is a punishment that you're trying to do to us. It's not something that you're trying to help us with. There's a lot of infrastructure malfunctions that you guys have, train delays, bus delays, in certain low class communities. Buses don't even run. They're always out of service. So you saying that you're going to make sure that there's going to be accessible rides for everybody, that hasn't been the case from previous fare hikes. So what data do you have to show to prove that this fare hike is going to improve that? Right? So when you're saying this, I hope this fare hike, the money goes towards the people and residents, and also fair fare program, and not your pockets or police that have harassed me for no reason, and other Black and brown people and Latin people in New York City. Thank you.
The next speaker is Daisy, followed by Joseph Morales.
It was raised to us yesterday that the Fair Fares program is the way that the MTA is justifying raising the fare because this program is made accessible. It's not invested in nearly enough. It's not promoted. The enrollment is not made accessible for our communities. You have it here today. It's necessary that it's implemented across the city so that people can have access to this program with the same energy and the same amount of money that you're investing in fare enforcement that is violent upon our community, that you just heard police harassing people. You know about Darrell Mickles getting shot. You know about the bystanders that a bystander is brain dead as a result of the police violence that is enforced in order to come after a $2.90 fare. Then you have people getting charged $100 plus tickets for not being able to afford the $2.90 fare in a city where 1 in 4 people are struggling to survive, in a city where 1 in 5 people you already know are struggling to afford transit right now. So to raise it to $3 and to expect that that's not going to be a detriment to people's lives. A lot of people have complained that the homeless people on the train are an eyesore, or it bothers them. How do people become homeless in this city? The rent is going up, the groceries are going up, the utilities are going up, and now the transit is proposed to go up. Homelessness arises because your paycheck stays the same, and slowly but surely you cannot afford to maintain your housing. What does that do to your sanity? What does that do to your peace? Day after day, you have nowhere to go. The shelter systems are not invested in. The MTA is not investing in the shelter systems in New York City. So what options are you giving people? You're giving them, we're going to enforce this fare so violently that you can either get locked up. We'll encourage the DA to prosecute you so that you don't get out of jail, and your life is basically ruined by the fact that you were poor, that you were born poor in this city. So think about that. You have a lot of resources under your belts. You have a lot of time to come up and plot the best decision for the people that you're supposed to be serving. Think about what it means for you to be enforcing the fare and not investing in a program or an alternative or solution that resolves that.
Thank you. The next speaker is Joseph Morales, followed by Malik Quells.
Sorry, I just had to focus with this piece. Okay. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joseph Morales. I'm a rising sophomore civil engineering student at Manhattan University. A few more recommendations for fare and toll changes. Number one, I feel like there should be more signage on the Henry Hudson and Cross Bay bridges so that Bronx and Queens residents are aware of the toll rebates available to them offered through Easy Pass. The areas, notification was given to eligible residents at the beginning of the program. However, the areas surrounding the bridges have grown significantly since then, and hence, efforts should be made to make sure that everyone's aware of ways they could save. Also, more outreach should be conducted so that New York City public and private schools could join the Metro North and LIRR's discount programs. This would help thousands of school-age children who live far from the subway and close to commuter rail stations have access to a plethora of more academic and extracurricular opportunities that are not available closer to their homes. I have a friend who is from Queens Village and who used the LIRR and the 4 train to get to Bronx Science, where he became the construction captain for the STEM's Focus School's robotics team. Affordable commuter rail access could enable even more stories like this for city students. Lastly, I want to talk about the topic of fare evasion, future fare evasion enforcement. I heard Jesse earlier mention Omni is going to enable proof of payment enforcement on all buses, which could obviously be a good thing for more thorough enforcement. I feel like when you take that step, we should have, our Eagle teams. I know we're deploying them as much as we can, but they can only reach so far. I see advertisements throughout the system that the NYPD is enforcing fair payment, but I don't see them often on or around buses. So to help with that, I feel like we should coordinate more for our local precincts. There's times I ride the bus on 86th Street, I see a police car there all the time. They could make occasional checks on the M86, and that's enough because I've heard riders talk about it before. The police, they might check sometimes. That's enough to create that sense and be the deterrent for fare evasion. Thank you for your time.
The next speaker is Malik Quells, followed by Arthur Breedy. Please unmute yourself. Malik. You can begin.
Good evening. My name is Malik Walls, a rail transportation engineer and lifelong New Yorker from the Bronx. Rising living costs and repeated fare hikes are making it harder for everyday New Yorkers, workers, students, families, elders, and disabled to rely on transit. I'm proposing a unified fare reform plan built on Omni, introducing daily and weekly fare caps of $5 a day or $30 a week for subways and local buses, and $10 a day or $6 a week for express buses, especially for those in transit deserts. With Metro cars being phased out by January 2026, fare caps will ensure all riders never pay more than they need to, even if they can't afford to pay up front within all 5 of the boroughs. This structure should also be applied to Long Island Railroad Metro North trips within city limits, using Omni taps on board or through the Train Time app without new fare gates. The MTA could also work with the Port Authority to integrate JFK air train transfers, making out-of-borough and airport travel more affordable. Fare caps reduce evasion by making fares fair and predictable, boosting compliance without relying on enforcement that disproportionately impacts low-income Black and brown riders. With the MTA projecting over $5.2 billion in fare revenue annually, a capping system could stabilize and even grow revenue by encouraging riders and reducing losses. That revenue can support key improvements: accessibility, safety, reliability, and climate resilience. This board has overseen major progress from modernizing fare payment with Omni to strengthen MTA finances for congestion pricing and even earning an S&P credit rating upgrade to A. My proposal builds directly onto that momentum. You have the chance to lead the nation again in fare innovation, just as London and Seoul have. I urge the voting members of this board to continue that leadership by piloting this integrated fare cap model. You've already proven that MTA can innovate, and now is the time to make the fairness and equity part of that success story, not just for the MTA, but for all New Yorkers. Thank you.
The next speaker is Arthur Breedy, followed by Rosalind Carter. Please unmute yourself. Arthur.
Hi, good evening. I am a resident in Woodside, Queens, and I believe that this is it in a nutshell. There's a lot of things that need to be taken care of first before we start talking about fare increases. People like to see, what they're paying for, that their money is going towards what they can enjoy. No one should have to, go through Niagara Falls or Victoria Falls water going into the subway in order to get to and from work, hospital visits, visiting loved ones in intensive care. Things like that should not be obstacles that they have to wade through, and paying a fare increase is not fair. The other flip side of that is I travel through Lexington Avenue and 53rd Street on a daily going to work. You just finished a 2-year redo of the escalators. Before this was happening, people had to do cardio on their way to and from work because one of the longest escalators were not working. No one wants to have to do this at like 6 o'clock in the morning, have to do cardio, and you're passing people who are going out of breath, stopping on the side, and you have to stop and see if they're okay because you don't want to make sure that they're not in cardiac arrest. These things need to be fixed infrastructure-wise before we even start talking about a fare increase. If you look at most societies, when they know where the money is going, people have no problem paying. But if they're paying more for less, it's not worth it. Thank you.
The next speaker is Rosalind Carter, followed by Brian Perenzo.
Good evening. I'm Rosalind Clay Carter. I don't know if you can see me, but I'm here.
Yes, we can see you.
Testifying as a member of the Metro North Railroad Commuter Council, and I'm also a longtime Metro North rider. I'm apparently in the minority, but I support the proposed fare increases to help ensure our trains are running frequently, safely, and stations are accessible. However, I believe the proposed idea of a day pass, which would be discounted by 10%, must also accompany this general fare increase on the Metro North and Long Island Railroad trains. The proposed changes for ticket purchases with immediate activation is asking riders to transform our approach to the way we travel, preventing us from purchasing tickets prior to the mad dash to get our train. The onboard surcharge is a good idea for online ticket purchases. However, if immediate activation is adopted, a missing component is programming the system to refund fares for a canceled or significantly delayed train or provide other means of getting a refund. As a staunch advocate for a reduced fare for the 12 to 17-year-olds, it would be a good complement to find a solution that preserves an option for a parent to hand a physical ticket to adolescents without worrying about precise activation windows. Additionally, I believe renewed effort should be directed to promoting use of the Train Time app. Consider having a sweepstakes where if you register via the Train Time app, you will be entered in a gift certificate of $25 for train travel. This need is in addition to a greater focus on fare enrollment. Lastly, I appreciate the move to the
Thank you for your comment.
Citizens fare in prime time. Thank you.
The next speaker is Brian Perenzo, followed by Matt Camper.
Hi, I'm Brian Perenzo. I'm a member of the Long Island Railroad Commuter Council. No one likes fare hikes, but small regular increases are better than what we're seeing in other places. And it's important to keep frequent and reliable service for millions of riders who rely on the Long Island Railroad. However, I do take issue with the proposed automatic activation on the commuter rail, particularly the expiration after 4 hours. I don't think the MTA has considered how this won't work in real life scenarios. I, for one, and I know many others, buy my ticket the night before, but now that's off the table along with that convenience. Or what if I bought a ticket before I left the office and then decided to grab dinner or drinks with friends or some colleagues? My ticket's going to expire and I'm going to lose the money. What if I bought a ticket in the morning before heading to work and then I found out that my child was sick and I needed to stay home? Again, my ticket's going to expire and I'm going to lose the money. What if I bought a ticket and then my train was delayed and I decided to travel a different way by taking driving in or taking an Uber? Another scenario where my ticket's going to expire and I'm going to lose the money. But what if I want to give my kid a ticket to hold on to in case they need it for emergency to take a train? Under this plan, that's impossible now. That convenience and all these conveniences are gone for the honest rider. I think a 48-hour expiration window is a much better, more realistic option, and it won't take these conveniences and options away from the honest commuter. I understand the goal is to address the fare evasion, but at the same time, these changes are going to inconvenience a lot of honest commuters. I'm also concerned about losing the 10 trip. It doesn't always make sense for me to buy a monthly, so a 10 trip is more cost effective and time effective, especially for the off-peak travel. But this loss could increase the price to 23%, and that's a lot. I'm open to changing the way I travel, but you got to implement some changes over time and not all at once. I'm happy that I was able to join virtually, but also hosting 3 meetings over 2 days in the same location doesn't service the area that the MTA services, and there should have been more locations, more hearings, and more days.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Matt Camper, followed by Cecilia Harris.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matt Camper. I'm a member of Passage United. I am here to speak this afternoon in regards to the LIRR proposal for the fare increases. Now, first of all, in regards to the reduced fare in the morning proposal, I'm absolutely am for that. This is something that me and my fellow colleagues have been advocating for years. And this is something I'm very thrilled to see. This is going to be very beneficial to us, LIRR riders. Now, in regards to the proposal to have the tickets on the e-text app expire after 4 hours, I really am against it. Now, you may ask why. The reason why is because I have seen this time and time again on the Long Island Railroad. There are overcrowded trains, especially after sporting events, and there are times where conductors do not come through and check tickets. Tickets are expired after 4 hours, we don't get our tickets checked. Then we're throwing our money away. So I am absolutely against that. In regards to the 10 trip proposal to eliminate that, again, I am against eliminating that. I use that constantly. I use the Long Island Railroad for leisure travel, let's say 3, sometimes 4 times a month. And I love having the fact that I can be able to pay for my tickets without having to worry about, when they expire. But with this proposal, this is something that's going to impact me significantly. So I urge you to please reconsider eliminating the 10 trip ticket. Thank you so much.
The next speaker is Cicely Harris, followed by Rain Negroni. Please unmute yourself. We can see you.
Okay, good evening. My name is Cicely Harris, and I'm a member of the New York City Transit Writers Council. I appreciate the opportunity to comment tonight. Nobody likes fare increases, but I also know that the MTA needs steady, moderate funding to keep our system running. Still, we're in the middle of a real affordability crisis, and riders, especially low-income New Yorkers and frequent users, need targeted, real, intentional relief. Creating a 30-day fare cap to make up for the discontinuation of the 30-day unlimited Metro card could amount to a fare hike of up to 18% for some riders. We should look at and support building on the success of the city ticket by adding a weekly city ticket cap that includes transfers to subways and buses, similar to the $67 cap already proposed for express bus riders. Expanding the fares program to 200% of the federal poverty level as an absolute minimum. This would allow for an additional 400,000 New Yorkers, including many minimum wage workers, to qualify. An additional expansion to include railroads within the city and express buses would also bring relief to people with some of the city's longest commutes. unifying New York City's fare zones between Metro North and the Long Island Railroad to make travel around the city as seamless as the new connection at Grand Central can be. Fare increases are really hard, and we are in a place of financial instability, and that is real. But if they're paired with intentional, equitable changes and the right incentives, they can be made more fair and manageable for the people who depend on transit the most. Thank you.
The next speaker is Rain Negroni, followed by Freeman X.
Good evening, panel. Hi, my name is Rain Negroni. I'm representing from Brooklyn, New York. Also, I'm a borrower from Store Nation anyway. The reason why I came here because of the fare increases going up already from $2.90 to $3. I think the only way to do is do something to get these people a fair chance for people who doesn't do the fare increase. And I'll say, remember to tell you something. I used to ride the express buses since 1992 when it was like $4 a fare when from living in Rosedale section, and now it's going up to like about $7 of a fare. Now you got Ed 63 now come to the Ed and QM 63, 64, 68. Now the other ones I remember, the only one I remember, the removal of the bus shelters or something like that, or the bus signs I remember from a Maspeth area. One of my friends told me there was a removal of the Maspeth on Haspel on Grand Avenue. And nobody told me about that, so there would be a big problem here. Nobody told me about removing or something, to find out what happened about the removal. Anyway, that's what I'm going to say. Anyway, the $3 fare is just like one of my friends from California, we pay like $1.75 for a one-way we're using a tap card. And now, for you to have $1.25 extra, now we're up to $3. But that's not unfair. That's, could be insanity. So these people here, they need a break. So if you don't have a break now, I don't know what to say. But I'm telling you something, these people right here, they love to say that $2.90 is much better than a $3 fare increase. So I think you just reconsider it. But anyway, thank you very much for your invitation, and keep the fares going up. Thank you.
The next speaker is Freeman X, followed by Esther Gray.
I'm here on behalf of the Fair Ain't Fair campaign. This is our second day being out here. We were here yesterday. We're here today again to put the same message forward that during a time like this, an affordability crisis like this, for y'all to go forward, if you choose to vote to raise the fare, you are against working and poor people in this city. Because the evidence is here. 1 in 5 New Yorkers cannot afford the fare. The rent is going up. The price of groceries is going up. The cost of living is going up. The thing that's staying the same is the money that we're taking home. People aren't making more money, and that y'all think it's acceptable to try to take more money from us, and to do it violently too, by sicking the NYPD on us. You think that that's acceptable. Old girl Jessie over here wanted to open up today saying that the MTA is proud to have the transit system be the linchpin of affordability. 1 in 5 New Yorkers are struggling to afford $2.90. In what world would we magically overnight be able to afford $3 while everything else is going up? You parade the Fair Fares program as if that is something that will cancel out a fare increase. It doesn't. It does not answer the question that people cannot afford it right now, and y'all are doing nothing to solve that issue. Y'all are getting paid. The MTA board gets money to do outreach for fair fares. Rather than the MTA putting forward $1 billion to the Fair Fares program, instead you're spending $1 billion on fare evasion enforcement. This is where your priorities are, on criminalizing black people, criminalizing poor people, and having us on the hook for paying the fare. Y'all need to start paying the fare, because last time I checked, most of you get free Metro cards for business and personal use. So don't sit here talking about it's just a 10-cent increase when y'all don't pay the fare. Y'all don't pay the fare and you want us to pay it. This is the Fair Ain't Fair campaign. And we are saying that the poor will not pay anymore.
Please conclude your remarks. Thank you very much. The next speaker is Esther Gray, followed by Lillian Young.
Good evening, everyone. There is a thank you. Thanks a lot. There is a very, very, very huge amount that is being generated from congestion pricing to the MTA. It's very huge, as well as from bridges and tunnel. Where is all this money going? Whose pockets are these monies going into? So I am asking you, please, not to increase the fare. Please, please do not increase the fare. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Lillian Young, followed by Joan Mark Simmer.
Good evening. My name is Lillian Young. I am from Brooklyn. And while I do appreciate the work that has been done for accessibility in the trains, and I wouldn't support the fare increase if you had anything to show for the recent fare increase that we had as of like a year and a half last year or so ago. Literally, people are dying in the trains. People are being harassed by the police. The trains flood when it rains. Like, I have to figure out if I can afford to go to work when it's flooding or if I should just try to stay home and work from home. And that's a huge inconvenience to me and damn near impossible. The buses don't run, the police harass us. I have been double charged on the Omni system multiple times, every time I use it. I was late today to come to this meeting because my train wasn't working. It wasn't working yesterday when I was trying to get home. It just stopped all of a sudden and we had to get off and wait for a new one for 30 minutes. I feel like this whole process has been rushed. I didn't even know this meeting was happening till this morning when I saw it in a TikTok video, and that you only had like 3 days to tell us about it for us to come and talk to you. That's egregious. You're doing this, it feels like you're doing this all under the table so you can get money in your own pockets while I have to figure out, can I afford groceries or can I make it to work today? It's not fair. I think that you should rethink all of this and really take into account that the working people of New York cannot afford $3 a train ride. I don't know in what world you think that's possible, but it's definitely not this one. Thank you.
The next speaker is Joan Mark Simmer, followed by Alexandra Jameson.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Joan Malksmer. I've been in New York most of my life. I feel that there should not be any type of fare increases whatsoever. I think that most New Yorkers have a hard time not only paying rent, but paying for food and paying for clothing. And because of that, they do not have any extra money to pay for any type of fare increases. Now, I will go as far to say that not only that, but I feel that the subway system as well as the bus system should be totally free to all New Yorkers. I think free is the key. There's no reason for it not to be free. We live in a type of society where it is very, very necessary, and that's the way I feel about it. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Alexandra Jameson, followed by Natasha Curlew.
Hi, I'm Alex Jameson. I work 3 jobs, and I'm here today as a mom and a worker who uses the MTA most days for the last 25 years. I'm an independent contractor and an hourly worker, and none of my jobs pay for transportation. My son's father died last year, and my husband just got downsized. I took an hour and a half off of work to be here, which is 12 rides. I don't know if any of you decision makers have to budget your life like that. Maybe you did in the past. But I make just a bit too much for discounted fares. The current fare raise proposals are unfair, like their hats say. A 10-cent hike on a base fare might sound like small potatoes on paper, but for working families like mine who ride the subway multiple times, take the bus every day, it adds up fast. For families like ours who are already struggling with rent and groceries and electricity bills, it's just another squeeze. The truth is the poorest riders, the hardest workers, the ones who rely on the MTA the most are the ones who are already carrying the greatest burdens in this city. I love this city and I want our transit system to thrive. But stability cannot come from nickel and diming the very people who keep this city running. Please reject these fare hikes and work towards solutions that don't punish the riders who depend on you most. Thank you.
The next speaker is Natasha Curlew, followed by AJ Ho. Natasha Curlew. Okay. Please mute Natasha.
Yes, hi, hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, I'm Natasha Curlew. I'm from the Bronx, New York. I'm a young woman in mid-30s. Regarding about the hike, I think at this moment right now, maybe not the best time to have a hike because people are really struggling to get by with everyday utilities and bills and childcare and increases. So maybe if it could be at another time, but not right now. And I think overall it'll make the economy like more weak because sometimes the MTA, the system is delaying. Buses on the subways are just a mess, especially on the weekend. You can't really get nowhere without transferring over to a shuttle. So I just think right now we don't really need to have an increase at the moment. Thank you.
The next speaker is AJ Ho, followed by Jack Nierenberg.
Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for promoting me as a panelist and within Zoom so I can get this talk 1 second here. All right. Go. Can you see me?
Yes, we can hear you and see you.
Thank you. So I went through a lot of the offensive and majority sentiment here that it's not a really good time for a fare hike given how much New York is struggling in this economy in these times. I'm a lifelong New Yorker. I grew up on New York City subways. I now basically commute mostly via Long Island Railroad and when I get into the city's subway system. I am not a big fan of the proposal to institute a 4-hour cap on paper tickets, particularly since I'm not exactly sure how the day pass will work the paper tickets. As somebody who uses the transit benefits and has more trust in using the point-of-sale machines to buy tickets rather than the finicky online systems, particularly with the example given with Omni and not being able to use my transit benefits online. I think that as somebody who favors paper tickets, that's shortening the time window from a span of 6 months to 4 hours is a good idea at this point. That's primarily the main thing that I have in this matter. The other thing is now that since most people mentioned it, perhaps the agency can look into funding operations via a consumption or tourism tax and making the transit no cost at the point of use. Thank you.
The next speaker is Jack Nierenberg. The next speaker is Jack Nierenberg, followed by Kay Cardona.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Fantastic. Hi, I'm Jack Nierenberg, Vice President of Passengers United. I'm first going to express my support for the fare capping becoming permanent and the fare capping being expanded to the express buses the same way that we had the Express Bus Plus Metro card. However, what is concerning me the most are the increases for the express buses going from $7 to $7.25, which is more, by the way, than what the subway and the bus fare is going up by, as well as the city ticket prices going up by the same amount. And keep in mind, a lot of the people who rely on the express buses and who rely on the Metro North and Long Island Railroad traveling within city limits are not the people who are just choosing to take the railroad or choosing to take the express buses. These are not the people with big homes and who are electing to use those. These are the people who are cleaning homes. These are the people who have local businesses, who are essential workers, who can't afford to live where they have the subways and rely on the express buses daily. So this is going to exacerbate existing issues. And also, the weekly city ticket, there's a big opportunity to restore the benefits of the Atlantic ticket with the weekly city ticket with the subway and bus bundled together. And that was never restored, and that needs to be restored. That needs to be rethought. And at this point, we could not use an increase in the fare for the express buses and the railroads within the city limits. I do want to say one more thing regarding what happened yesterday, and those responsible, they know who they are. No, the rules, you cannot just change the rules about who can register and when for the public hearings without even putting a notice up. And there was no notice on the displays that were posted up. And I do not appreciate what happened to my colleague yesterday. So with that said, the rest of my remarks are going to be coming in writing. Please read them. Thank you.
The next speaker is Adrian Wiggins, followed by Joel Tipson.
Hi, my name is Adriana Wiggins, and I've been a native New Yorker for the last 35 years. My dad and grandfather were retired MTA workers, so I grew up on the subways. But as an adult, I recognize there's a huge lack of transparency about how these fare hikes actually help the middle class and the working class and the poor class, real New Yorkers. Because most people are frustrated that we're basically surviving on these buses and these subways, trying to see our families go to school, go to work. MTA has spent more money on fare evasion than actual infrastructure. Hurricane Sandy, which was in 2012, we have had 3 fare hikes since then and no fixtures to the actual trains to stop the influx of rainwater inside of our train system. New York has to bottle up and figure out how to get into flooded trains to get home during a downpour. MTA can make simple fixes to make it even easier for our tourists to find their train lines that connect them to the next line. I went to London for a week. All the train stops were on the actual passageways and in the subways. This is simple fixes that don't take a lot of money to do. The stops are written in bold letters. New Yorkers are losing health benefits, and you guys want to discuss a fare increase with no transparency about how these benefits to New York. If you truly cared about New Yorkers, you wouldn't host these meetings during working times, not 3 days a week. You should have it in different locations during the city. I oppose the MTA fare hike, the toll increases. They're predatory, they're unreasonable, and they're hurting everyday New Yorkers.
The next in-person speaker is Joel Tipson, followed by a Zoom person, Justin Cole.
Hi, my name is Joel Timpson. I actually just moved back to New York. I'm from Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, a small little place, but I used to live in New York. I lived in Brooklyn, I lived in Manhattan, and now I live in Harlem and I work in Queens. So moving back to the city, I'm here for my career. I'm a performer, and my move coming back is I wanted to bring my car this time because of how inconsistent the public transportation is. That was my biggest thing, and I didn't want to have to bring my car. But being home and always looking at the news of what's going on in New York, like there's more shootings, there's more stabbings. There was a lady that was literally lit on fire on the subway, and that was something that I was tired of hearing. And I said, you know what? I need a plan B. Everyone in New York needs a plan B to get somewhere. Your train is delayed. How are you going to get somewhere? But now the transport is becoming $3. That's ridiculous. You have to pay for the train. You have to pay for the bus. You have to pay for an Uber if you're late. You have to pay for the city bikes. Nothing's free. What are we going to do? Walk? Like, I live all the way in Harlem and I have to go all the way to Long Island City to work. And that's already a 45-minute train. Same type of thing. It could be a 20-minute drive, but what's going on? The tolls for the congestion tolls, it's too expensive. You're not letting New Yorkers that even have cars be able to get places. You're taking away every single part. You can't even get to a different borough without paying more than less than $5. It's ridiculous. The flooding is ridiculous, especially you can't get anywhere. How are we supposed to get to work, make money? And it's ridiculous, especially even in Brooklyn, living in Brooklyn. That's why I lived in Brooklyn. I lived in Crown Heights. It's in the middle. You can't get anywhere else in Brooklyn without going into Manhattan to go back in. If you're not going to have more stops, if you're not going to even make these train stations accessible for everyone, it doesn't make any sense. And these hearings are useless if you let all of these words fall on deaf ears and not do anything. Thank you.
The next speaker is Justin Cole, followed by Aubrey Mutusami. Justin, please unmute yourself.
Hi, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Hi. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to organize this. I will admit as well that I find this quite unfair, that the only reason why I heard about this meeting was because I'm in a workforce development program and they told me about this. So I agree with everyone that these meetings are not being advertised. I do think there's something a bit shady about that. I'm probably younger than most people who are going to be on a panel tonight, but regardless, I'm young enough to have seen the fare increase at least 2 times in my lifetime. I'm 24 right now, right? I'm about to be 25 next year. And just like everybody else is complaining here, the subway, it's horrific in its current condition. Not just the flooding, not just the constant rats, not just the paint chipping and just how aesthetically horrible the trains are. They don't run on time. There's constant delays. Constant malfunctions, especially certain lines that are neglected, like the G train, the J and the MTA, et cetera, et cetera. The fare increase is the condition of the current train system does not justify the fare increases. This to me is just an act of greed, like with anything else, with all the other price gouging and all the other cost of living increases that are occurring now in America. This just seems like greed and unjustified greed. I'm sure I don't know what else to say. Yes. I don't think this should go through. I don't really think these meetings will help much at all. I think you guys have already made your decision. You're just trying to give the impression of having due process by allowing people to talk and vent and let out their frustrations and their indignation. I don't think these meetings will result in anything, but hopefully, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm so black-pilled on this, but thank you for your time for listening to me rant incoherently. Have a nice day.
The next in-person speaker is Audrey Montosami, followed by remote person Hanan Bajad.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Audrey Mutusami. I'm a certified nursing assistant, also home health aide. I will briefly say, as a home health aide or nursing assistant, because I'm self-employed, I will work on call because I have a mortgage on my own, like $2,500. I moved to the area in 2004 in South Ozone Park, so as you know, I'm reliant on that Q9 bus. It's been so inconsistent, unreliable, and there hasn't been any contingency plan whatsoever. In other words, if there was a bus intersecting which I could cross a block or two to get a 638 to take me to Sutphin Boulevard so I can connect to a subway to get to Beth Israel or somewhere, that is not available to me. And I feel the fare increase is not warranted because I don't have a reliable bus. Also, the Q10 used to be across the street from where I can get a 9. So if I couldn't get one, I would limp myself across the street back and forth playing Russian roulette to see which bus I can get to go to Beth Israel for 7 o'clock in the morning. Whenever I work as a home health aide, it would be 4 hours here and there, so I can make up my 12 hours or whatever to pay my $2,500 mortgage. However, when that bus is late and it's very tardy, I have to clock in. and for every time I clock in, it's reduced. It reduces my pay. That's what I want to say. So we need to have a reliable contingency plan. Another thing, as a nurse and assistant, we improvise all the time. Within a 5-minute, 10-minute radius, there would be six buses, all the other ones going by. But when there are lines of people and thrones of people along the way without any notices at all, then I would suggest, ladies and gentlemen, let's turn that 6 upside down and turn it into a 9 and get us all home. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next remote Zoom speaker is Hanan Bajad, followed by the next in-person speaker, Taj Mahal Isaac.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Hanan Bajat. I'm a Staten Islander. Staten Island, the forgotten borough, is basically a transportation desert. And that's why basically most of us are left with no choice but to drive. And though it seems in New York City, you're damned if you're a vehicle driver or a public transportation commuter. Either way, the MTA finds a way to screw us. Why would New Yorkers have to continue to pay for more subpar MTA services? There's simply no justification for this. It's unfair. What's honestly most disheartening is that we're all sitting here giving our testimonies from all walks of life, demographics, and socioeconomic backgrounds, yet we know the inevitable will occur. We know that the majority of your board will vote to support this fare and toll hike, and it's absolutely abhorrent. The MTA needs a serious agency overhaul, and I demand an MTA audit. We New Yorkers deserve so much better.
The next speaker is Taj Mahal Isaac, followed by Camilla Sims.
Hi, y'all can call me Taj. Similar to what the last speaker said, I do believe the MTA needs to be audited. The MTA gets money from a variety of places. Y'all might think it's just your fare. It's not just your fare. They get ad revenue, they get money from city, state, and federal taxes. Where is the money going? Where is the money going? I would understand this increase if the trains consistently ran in every borough, in every neighborhood, not just where rich people are, not just where white people live, okay? Because Bay Ridge, their train stations look great. Their train stations run fine. In the Bronx, not so consistent, and they're dirty. And not just because people make it dirty. It's dirty because it hasn't been cleaned. I would understand if the trains didn't flood when it rains, and not just the trains, the buses. Can you imagine being on the bus and your bus is flooding after you paid your fare? Can you imagine having to choose between being late for work or being on time, but you took an Uber? I would understand if the MTA had a centralized app where you could do everything, complain about the driver, complain about the train. You could see your bus time, your train time. You could complain about Omni, who is actively stealing from New Yorkers who pay the fare. How is it that New Yorkers pay the fare and then the ride is now empty? That math does not make sense. That math does not make sense. People are saying they have to get a separate bank account just for Omni because Omni is overcharging them in the middle of the night when they're in their home sleeping. How does that make sense? This fare hike does not make sense. And the sad part is, I know you're still going to raise the fare. I know that all of us here, all of us on Zoom, we're still going to see a fare hike. And that is sad because y'all don't even pay the fare. Yeah. Y'all don't even pay the fare. We pay the fare. Thank you.
The next speaker is Camilla Sims, followed by Aaron Kessler.
Good evening, New Yorkers. I'm the person who made the TikTok. And this is my third meeting. My second one today. I was silenced earlier for being vulgar, for telling the truth that you are not functionally, currently, exclusively reliant on MTA services. None of you. Absolutely none of you. Maybe back in the day, but currently in your sitting positions, you're not. Oh, you're going to interrupt my speak?
Please
Relax.
continue.
If you were currently experiencing these services, a few weeks ago, you would have been waist deep in that floodwater. But you weren't, because you were in cars. If these prices were good for people, the overwhelming majority would not disagree, and all 6 boroughs are being priced out. All commuter cities are being priced out. And had this meeting been on a Saturday or at 8 p.m., everybody would be here disagreeing with you. You might hike the fares, but I want to introduce people to different ideas. I'm independent. I'm not here with an organization. I'm just a regular person. But here are some ideas. For every cent increase to the fares, an equal percent decrease to the board member's salary should be required to help offset the costs. No one who's not of legal voting age should be charged to ride MTA. Taxpayers' dollars subsidize the full cost of MTA services. Therefore, all New Yorkers should be riding for free, not just the differentially abled, not just the elderly, not just students, everybody. There should be a full public audit of every corner of MTA spending before any hikes are implemented, so the people can have a say. And there should be a full motion of petition filed reflective of the people's demands, because none of your positions are elected. They're all appointed by the governor. So, thank you, New Yorkers. I appreciate
your remarks.
you.
The next speaker is Aaron Kester, followed by Maysay Fratkin.
Hi, my name's Aaron Kester. I grew up in Smithtown, Long Island, and I go to school here at NYU Tandon for engineering, for chemical engineering. And so I frequently use the subway and the LIRR a lot. In 1988, the subway fare was $1, but in today's dollar, that is $2.95. In Mrs. Lazarus's presentation, some of the ways that your board wants to upset at fare increases was to avoid double-digit increases, yet this is a 10-cent increase. And so it doesn't seem like much for 10 cents, perhaps for your panel, but that 10 cent and 5 cent difference between what should be $2.95 would be pricing out a lot of the New Yorkers who ride the fare. I also think that the fare evasion funding, like the $1 billion to fare evasion, could be used for other cases. Of course, this transit system is 200 years old, right? So it's very difficult to retrofit it, and I'm sure there's lots of technical problems in dealing with that. But if that $1 billion were not used towards fare evasion and used towards increasing or working on the cleanliness of the stations, as well as the connectivity and the reliability of the trains, it would be a much better use of the money that would make people feel better about these fare hikes. For example, my coworker on July 31st, she had to come from Queens to Brooklyn to do work with us, and she was forced out of the trains. It was the orange lines, and she was in that station, and it was about 100 degrees, and she was waiting for 40 minutes, and she was about to faint. She had to cross the street and leave, go somewhere else to try to get here, and she ended up being like 30, 40 minutes late. I'm sure if you took the train like that, you would also want to put more money towards fixing the trains instead.
Please conclude your remarks.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Maysay Fratkin, followed by DT.
All right, first off, this meeting is incredibly scary. You have like 20 cops in this tiny room, and you all clearly don't want to be here. You don't even want to hear anybody. And I would argue that you're saying that you have to raise the fare every 2 years, that that's part of the plan. But I'm just wondering why that's the plan, and where is the money from congestion pricing going? If that's going to be billions of dollars, where is that money going? This is the same organization that had 2 books. You cannot be trusted. We need more reliability and understanding as to where the money is going. You, as an organization, need to be audited. I I would also ask that you all take a pay cut instead of increasing the fares. I don't understand. The chief, whoever's in charge here, is making about $400,000 a year. Yeah. Oh, this friendly, inviting person here is that person. That's awesome. So I would also argue that you are making the MTA inaccessible to people without smartphones, and that I do not understand how the Omni is cheaper than buying a base fare. It still seems like it would be cheaper to have a single Metro card and you're just paying up front. Because it also seems like you haven't figured out your technology with Omni and people are complaining about getting charged twice. I also am wondering where your idea that the customer satisfaction is the highest, as you said at the beginning of the meeting, because clearly everyone in this room is upset besides the wannabe cop that was in here and the other lady. But everyone else does not want this and you're not even paying attention. It's too much.
The speaker must only address the chair and the host. The next speaker is DT, followed by Tatiana Steffens, who is remote.
Peace. The New York City transportation spends the most in construction and update costs, yet doesn't even rank in the top 10 most effective transit systems around the world. Some of this may be due to the MTA outsourcing work that needs to be done to private businesses owned by the top 1%, giving more money to the rich and giving more stress and accessibility and the risk of falling into poverty if we're not already there to the poor and working class people. Increasing the fare by 10 cents doesn't sound like a lot to some people. The MTA, but are you, the MTA, going to pay that 10-cent difference to people? That sounds outrageous, doesn't it? Well, that's how outrageous it sounds for people who don't even pay for the fare to be increasing the fare that they won't even feel. The more people that come up here and speak, the more it becomes clear that this hearing is being held so that it can look like you care about what people have to say without doing anything about it. Prove us wrong. The fare ain't fair, and the poor will not pay more. And I'm going to add one more thing. You may be tired of us coming up here and speaking, but we are tired of living half-butchered lives, which is what revolutionary George Jackson said. But we are not tired of coming here and talking to you people about what we, working class and poor people, need. And we will keep coming.
The next speaker is Tatiana Steffens, followed by Nicole Randall.
Hi, I'm a member of the Fair Ain't Fair campaign and catcalls at NYC. I'm a student at John Jay, and I'm a resident of Brownsville. There are people right now, employed and unemployed, that need to use the train to travel who don't even know if they or their families will be able to eat tonight. The MTA should be trying to be cohesive with the people of New York City because these are the very people you overlook and neglect. And without those people, there would be no MTA. Yet you impose ill-thought fare hikes without considering the reality of those who ride the subway every single day. Complaints and safety concerns falling by the wayside when there's over 350 MTA stations still without accessible entry. Do you know how many riders use wheelchairs, are pregnant, use canes, crutches, or push strollers? Fare evasion will still increase because if people are struggling to pay $2.90, then what makes you think they could suddenly pay $3? Oh, I forgot, your solutions are arresting people, having the cops beat us up, shoot us like Darrell Mickles and Gregory Delpeche at the Sutter Avenue L train down the block from my home, while having disturbing officials like Eric Adams and the other people who run MTA claiming that this sort of behavior towards riders is in compliance as punishment for being poor. Instead of focusing on what will benefit the community, you hire DIY security guards to harass riders at the security gates and have more cops out to harass riders and issue $150 fines. But who is that really helping? Why should people give more money to yet another government agency that doesn't respect us, protect us, or even like us? And the fair fares program is not an adequate enough excuse to continue to raise fare when most of the people in New York will not even qualify. You all have enough funding already to service communities way better than you do. Even though I know you guys are not going to give a shit, but you know, you got to show up.
I will. Speakers may not use profanity or vulgar language, threaten violence, or otherwise engage in conduct that disrupts the orderly conduct of this meeting. The next speaker is Delilah Craven, followed by Dean Perrone.
Hi there. I'm Delilah. I'm a lifelong Brooklynite. You guys look even more disinterested up close. I'm so sorry, but I'm just saying, like, we're going to talk about accessibility. I know that 2 days ago, Governor Hochul announced the second phase of the Second Avenue Line plan, which is a main artery through some of the most affluent neighborhoods in the city, and impacts none of the outer boroughs. In the meantime, I've been working in prevention in New York City in varying degrees for the last 5 years. We have had to come out of pocket as city-funded programs and subsidize our clients' Metro cards in order to make our services accessible to them, even though we are essential workers and we are city-funded. At the end of the day, low-income New Yorkers are paying for their poverty with their time. This is especially true for Black and brown New Yorkers and other vulnerable groups. I don't know how we can continue to call this public transportation if it is not accessible and attainable to the vast majority of people who it is designed to serve. So I guess my big question here is, first, audit, and then second of all, once we know where the money is going, like, how do we make this public transportation truly public when it is feeling increasingly privatized by the lack of accessibility for the average New Yorker? And I just want to say thank you to everybody else in this room who has so eloquently spoken before me. I did not have time to plan what I was going to say because there was no advance notice of this meeting. So I would just like to say thank you to everybody else who has spoken so well and gathered their thoughts in a way that has really represented what I feel like is the baseline feeling of every New Yorker and every subway rider. Thank you.
The next speaker is Dean Lawrence Perrone, followed by Jamie DePaioili.
Hello. Excuse me if I'm nervous, but as some other speakers have said tonight, I just want to highlight that fair enforcement is violence against New Yorkers. I've never seen an act of fair enforcement that was peaceful, except maybe against a white woman, to be honest. And NYPD can commit a mass shooting, but it won't be called that because they're the cops and no one's even gonna get in trouble for murdering another Black New Yorker, so tragically. But, there should be no fare increase. There shouldn't even be a fare at all when New Yorkers from all different stripes. I'm from Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and I have food in my stomach because my family gets EBT right now. And, I'm struggling. I'm counting the fares just to get here today. You know what I mean? And I know people who they're still on the Omni card and their bank accounts have gone into negative triple digits because of your messed up scam of a system. Because the Metro card was working, there was nothing wrong with it. You never needed to switch that. It's just another money scheme. You need an audit, really, like many people have said. And there's no reason why so many other countries and even Los Angeles can create whole new train lines and we can't even have a clean, safe train because the security is more focused on harassing us and calling us slurs when we're trying to exit. It's not even trying to enter sometimes because they just need to guard the security door with their fucking life. But it's crazy how you are... Repeat the reminder.
Speakers may not use profanity or vulgar language or engage in disorderly conduct. Please conclude your remarks. Thank you. The next speaker is Jamie DePaioili, followed by Christopher Greif.
Good evening. That was really interesting pronunciation. Jamie DePaoli is my name. I'm a resident of New York for 17 years, and I'm a senior participant in the senior reduced rate program for several years now. I support all the previous speakers' points. And at the same time, while I understand MTA's position, dealing with a 100-year-old system, over 100-year-old system, and some fare increases might be unavoidable, the fare increases have increased in frequency with no resulting increase of MTA service. Just as a quick example, I frequently take the Myrtle Broadway JMZ at the Myrtle Broadway JMZ station, and there are toxic fumes for the last week that are so bad, I'm wearing a mask, and it went totally through the mask. Apparently, they're dealing with some paint removal. I asked the station agent about it, and she says, I don't know. I said, how long has this been going to be going on? It's been going on for a week. I don't know. So that would be nice if they'd take care of that. I will speak specifically over to the elimination of the unlimited monthly pass. While the senior fare system, for which I am grateful, as well as the fair fare program, is half the rate. We participants, seniors on a fixed income, we're actually being penalized by the fact that there's only 4 weeks on the reduced rate program, 4 weeks in the program that has replaced the monthly pass. So you're being automatically, in addition to the rate increase, you're paying for an extra 2 to 3 days of service per month, because, you know, the 12 rides, blah, 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 7 days. So anyway, so we're being penalized by the unlimited pass.
Thank you.
Okay.
The next speaker is Christopher Greif, followed by Anika Martins.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Christopher D. Greif, ADA Accessibility Transportation President. As a person with a disability, and what I've been hearing, I'm going to say this. For accessory customers, it is hard for them to pay $2.90, especially you have to find 90 cents. Now with $3 for them, they can put the 3 singles or use their Omni card, which is the AAR Omni card. One thing I am pleased on the Long Island Railroad is the railroad is now means I can get on the railroad early in the morning and go home if I have to, not wait till the afternoon or first after rush hour. But reminding our out there, accessibility, people with disability, as we advocate for more accessible stations, advocating for more accessorized vehicles, buses, and we pay our fares on the reduced fare areas. We need to always work together and get more outreach out there and educating this, because lots of people out there say, I didn't know about it. But on the accessibility end is information shares. We need to share our information. We need to share advocating. The future of accessibility rides with us all for a reason. The ADA 35 was there in July, celebrating the American Disability Act law. And right now in other states, they're getting cut. We are not getting cut, but we need to remind our fellow people we must still continue paying our fares and making sure if you see a senior or a disabled person getting on the bus, let's give them the courtesy and help them out. And that's including baby strollers. Children who are early intervention, they need the help as well. And we need to do our part. Thank you.
The next speaker is Anika Martins, followed by Jason Anthony.
Anika Tella Martins. I've actually seen this building almost every day for the last 3 years. I'm a recent graduate of Brooklyn Law School. I just took the MPRE literally today, and I was really glad that they had a meeting at 5 p.m. so that way I would be able to attend. I'm looking at all of you right now. These hikes that are prepared is worse than the greed they talked about in the Bible. How you can look at the state of this city and justify increasing a single dime on New Yorkers is unconscionable, it is unbelievable, and it has a deep neglect and lack of respect for every single person in this city. It is so disastrous that this is the first time that I'm in this building, and rather than me saying, hey, Mr. Lieber, can I get a job? Because that's what law students are supposed to do when they see other lawyers. I am so ashamed to say that you are a part of a profession that I want to join, because I thought that this was supposed to be a profession of conscience, where you try to do something that's actually objectively reasonable for the benefit of people. But all I'm seeing is people who are just so greedy and trying to wring every last cent out of people who have no money. I've been in this city for less than 10 years, and there have been 2 fare hikes, but there hasn't been a single wage hike. What is that talking about? You're saying that you want to invest $1 billion into taking issues with fare evasion, but you're not actually investing that money into just actually improving and innovating. This is the best city in the world. This is not the best transit system in the world. It stinks. It smells like urine everywhere. I can't even tell you the amount of times that I've been stuck underground and had to wait for somebody else to eventually be able to get us out of the system. It is so unfair. It is so disrespectful to try to basically price out and use technology and use fares as a way to excuse something that should not even be contemplated. Every single thing in this city should be free. How is this the richest city in the world? How is this the richest city that you can't even make it so that way transportation is free for all of its citizens? It's really hurtful because it feels like you don't see us as human beings, because anybody who saw us as human beings wouldn't do this.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jason Anthony, followed by Evelyn Liu.
Good evening, Jason Anthony, the transit guru. Everybody will wonder why I'm looking to the public and not to the board members. The reason is very simple. Philadelphia is facing a worse situation than us. I will want everybody from the 1212 movement to ask yourselves, would you guys rather to have a 21.5% fare increase and not be able to travel after 9 p.m. and having a fiscal cliff? Do you guys read the news? I don't even think so, because I do. This agency helped me during the COVID-19 pandemic to get to my job in Staten Island. What I get from everybody else? Well, everybody else was at home. Not even a single thank you. It is not funny, folks. While Donald John Trump could invade a single city, he could come over here and cut the agency funds. This is not funny, folks. The person who is in Washington could come and cut the funds of the agency. Could you guys want to pay $5 and $10? I don't think so.
Speakers shall address their remarks to the chair and meeting host and should not make personal, impertinent, insulting, and slanderous statements about any members of the MTA board or staff or about any members of the public. The next speaker is, Evelyn Liu, followed by Jordan Carlson. Please unmute yourself, Evelyn.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Evelyn, and I've lived in Brooklyn for over a decade. The summer before I moved here, I spent a month in China where I got a taste of modern public transportation for the first time because I grew up in the suburbs. And it was fast, it was clean, it was efficient, it was on time, and that was over a decade ago. And experiencing the New York subway for the first time in like August is like being in like a sewer. Okay, it's being like a sauna of a sewer, and it was 225, and that was over 10 years ago. And you know what? That experience is still what it is now. It is a huge letdown to what is like possible in terms of public transportation, and it's just not fair. In many ways, the subway has not let me down. Because of the MTA system, I have always managed to get home. It doesn't matter like what time or what borough, or if I'm alone or with a group of friends, I've always been able to get home. But raising the barrier to access, raising the fares, when it's obvious to everyone that like you have not invested in actually improving the infrastructure, the cleaning, and just like preying on the people who need to use it every single day, is terrible. It's really insulting to the people who actually live here and who take it on a daily basis. Like, the subway is the bloodline to the city, and the government, the city government, the state government, like, you should actually just fund the MTA system instead of trying to nickel and dime the population of people. It is humiliating to bring in friends
Please
and
conclude your
family
remarks.
to
Thank
see
you.
New York City's transportation system. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jordan Carlson, followed by Jasmine Beverly.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Jordan.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello.
Yes, begin.
Hi, yes. My biggest concern right now is the fact that the MTA is proposing to eliminate the unlimited monthly and weekly Metro cards. I don't know why we can't transition this to Omni, or at least have an app to do that sort of thing. This is the year 2025. We should be able to do this. I even addressed this to Jan Lieber himself in person twice to have this implemented. And the unlimited Metro has been a lifeline for me for years. And getting rid of that would be a detrimental thing for me. And also another concern I want to bring up is the lack of decorum within the subway system, whether it's being mentally ill people, almost attacking folks, people putting their bags on the seats, or the Showtime guys trying to make a buck but almost kicking people in the face. I don't appreciate that as well. And then that's about it. You have a good day, guys.
The next speaker is Alil Pacheco, followed by Jalil Poole.
Hello. Sorry, I'm tall. All right. Hi, everyone. I have a lot of questions, and I don't think I have a lot of time. So my big one, and maybe someone can answer this later, like, where will these remarks be going? Because I really don't know, like where these things will be going. And also, like, why are we spending money promoting Omni and also getting rid of the MetroCard? To me, that seems like something that we could just, like, if you guys really want to, like, bring up the fare, then, like, why are we promoting Omni and, like, making new cards and all that stuff? But also, I just want to ask everyone, like, in the room, like, if they took the train today, I guess, like, I can only speak to you guys. Did you guys take the train? Fire. Because I came here, like, I left home at, like, 1:50, and I only got here at, like, 5:40. And that's kind of crazy. Like, that's really ridiculous. I was waiting at the F train for, like, a really long time. Yeah, and I have volunteers to come here because the TikTok person, I don't know where she was. Free right here, period. Yes, she put that TikTok earlier today, and I was like, well, I have a little bit of free time. I only got a minute. Shit. Shoot. So yeah, I can't remember the last time that 149th Street Grand Commerce Coast was a normal functioning station. I know my time is limited, and I appreciate that you guys have the space, but I do not think that there will be results from this. Like, I came into the office today just to sit, y'all came into the office today just to be sit and flogged by the people of New York, and you guys will forget who I am, but I will not forget you guys. I simply just want to know what train, what are we gonna do about these trains? The Q train in Harlem, that thing is gonna be a joke. The Omni card also, like, really needs to be redesigned. I'm tired of paying for Ubers when I already have paid for the fare. I am tired of this town hall, like, y'all just sitting here and, I mean, I don't know. Like, kind of wish I had, like, worth was better, but I wish I had more time to have. I missed a point here somewhere, but I don't know where it went. So sorry, but because I really didn't think I was gonna be called when I did. And yeah, the last time the fare hike, someone said that earlier, but the last time the fare hike was hiked, like it hasn't seemed like anything useful has come out of that. So I don't see why we're doing it again unless there were like some actual results, and that'd be great to know. And I got 8 seconds, so I'm just going to sit and say hi. It's pretty lit. Wish I had better things to say, but I didn't have
Thank you for your comment.
Period.
The next speaker is Oscar Andrea Nevins, followed by Dominique Arno.
Then we're done. And it's Akasha, sorry. So I'm here to just say that the fare increase is a slap in the face to every single working New York City member or citizen. You waste money on garbage changes, like swapping out the benches for leaning things, which is absolutely preposterous in terms of accessibility. I'm sure all of you don't even know what we're talking about because you probably don't ride the trains. We love it. Or placing useless barriers that people are actually standing on the other side of with spaces in between that don't really do anything either. You can't hear anybody, the conductors, you can't hear them. There are no announcements being made in any of the train stations. I was in Chambers Street maybe last week. Train stopped running, not an announcement was made. The app sucks. You guys could do better, engineering or whatever it is. You are swindling New Yorkers out of money that they don't have to pad your pockets, and you should actually be ashamed of yourselves. Okay, I will say the last two things that the MTA has done maybe right is give children 4 rides all year round. Congratulations, you did something right. And adding the tunnel on 42nd Street between Bryant Park and Broadway. So, you know, maybe you tried, but it doesn't seem like you're doing anything else. The trains actually aren't getting any better. You wouldn't understand rush hour if it slapped you in the face. I've waited at rush hour times 12 minutes between trains. Who's rushing? Not y'all. You can't travel. It's incredibly inconvenient to travel interboroughly. It doesn't seem like you've tried to get around Brooklyn on a train, around the Bronx on the train. The buses in Queens, garbage. Just awful. The app, ghost buses, they don't exist. You'll wait 20 minutes and then it's not there anymore. Do better. You make all this money, you should do better.
The next Zoom speaker is Dominique Arno, followed by the next in-person speaker, Juan Castillo. Please unmute yourself, Dominique.
Hi. Yes, I came earlier in person, and I'm here online as well. I just want to state that I think that because we're so worried about shareholder value, which is important to all of y'all who sit on the board, but for us New Yorkers, it is not a luxury. It is a right that is for all of us to be made accessible. And these fare hikes are not working for New Yorkers. You're investing more money into fare evasion, and instead of investing that towards the infrastructure that is needed for people. And you will hear this like all day with us, that it hasn't been what we need. We're not seeing our return on investment as we are stakeholders in this, and I'm speaking the language that y'all will understand. But we're not seeing our continued investment every day is not being made equitable to us here. The fares are what keep it running, but at the end of the day, it's the people who pay the fares, who are here, who are showing up and contributing to the system, and you're not making it work for us. You're saying that the budget needs to be increased every year, but for us who our wages are not raising every year and our concerns are not being addressed right now, what consolation should we have for, you know, feeling like our needs are being addressed, and that, you know, that we're seeing this now. So Thank you for your time. Thank you so much for everyone showing up to this public hearing, and thank you.
The next speaker is Juan Castillo, followed by Gail Brewer.
I just wanted to bring up three things about the fare hike. We all know, though it happened. You keep raising the fare hike a lot. It's unfair to people who take the subway or bus, or even drive along bridges and tunnels. I mean, you started congestion pricing about 7.5 months ago. It's about to be 8 next month. So what I'm suggesting is the first thing you need to do, use the money, the funds from congestion pricing, and put a cap lock for bus and subway fare, or even commuter rail tickets, and for those riding the bridges and tunnels. I want to bring up about the Queens bus network redesign. As you all know, phase 1 already started. Phase 2 is less than 2 weeks from now, and I've been collecting a couple of pamphlets lately. The one list I'm missing is the one for addressing Union Turnpike corridor, which only explains the 3 routes, the Q45 and Q46 and Q48. Just letting you know. Speaking about the redesign, I wanted to extend the list to include LaGuardia Airport and JFK Airport, so you can bring up any mention of what changes are being made or about to be made. So if you got all the time, I can wait until all my demands are meet, as well as their demands to meet, that they don't see another fare hike. After all, I'm in no rush to see everything possibly could be done. Thank you.
The next speaker is Gail Brewer, followed by Vivian Jackson.
Thank you very much. I am Gail Brewer, City Council member, and I know that the MTA and the governor, you are certainly trying to improve cleaner, more accessible, and more on-time system, and I appreciate that. I will just mention as an aside, but I'm about to get on the subway to go to Park Place, to go uptown. That escalator hasn't worked for a very long time, and when it does work, if it could go all the way up to the street, it would be great, because it only goes part way. That's the kind of thing that does bother people. So fares, if you're gonna increase the fare, you have to also work on outreach for fares, increased it to 400% of those who are poverty, because you need more people to be eligible. And I don't think it's clear if everyone is eligible. I know a lot of 21-year-olds who are low income, they're doing a lot of the deliveries. They know that there's a hike, but they did not know about fare. So the outreach has got to be to more individuals. Omni, oh my God, I have so many constituents, older adults, half-fare users, who have not been able to get good information from the mobile van. They're not going to Stone Street. They're not going down to the headquarters at 42nd, 125th Street. So you've got to have much more in-person service for the older adults on Omni. They do not like to talk to a computer because they don't know how to use it. I also just want to mention, in terms of infrastructure, buses need benches. Those seniors cannot stand. So I'd like to see that. And then if all of those are taken in coordination, then obviously a predictable and incremental increase in the fare, I am supportive. But it's got to have Omni with half-fare mobile talking to people. It's got to have a better fares outreach. And I'd like to see more bus users have the ability to sit. I don't need the whole entire structure, but they want the countdown clock, and they certainly want to be able to sit. Thank you very much for your hard work.
The next speaker is Vivian Jackson, followed by Jeffrey Ambrose.
Hi, so I want to say thanks for having this meeting today and giving me another chance to speak. because I came yesterday in person and I wanted to update you on my experience less than 24 hours ago. Going home from the public hearing yesterday, I had to hop the turnstile at J Street Metrotech. I tried using my Fares Omni card that y'all gave me, and it declined at 3 machines. There's no agent in the entrance I went through, and no Omni machine in that entrance for me to reload my card, even though I'm pretty sure it's the machine that's the problem, not me. I physically could not pay the fare, and it's your fault. There are thousands of stories like mine. So many people came today, if not millions, because millions of people take the subways. You know what this tells me? You know what this tells everyone? Fare evasion is your fault. I tried to pay the fare. All of us tried to afford public transportation, but we can't. You give us no other choice to hop. Already people are hopping because things are messed up, and you want to make people more reliant on a system that you have not figured out yet. And now I'm concerned that Fare Omni cards are going to be worse than regular Omni cards. Are we going to get declined more often because we're not giving you as much money as regular customers? Why can't I see how much I'm being charged and how much is left, like with regular Metro cards? I tapped my card 3 times yesterday, and I have no idea if I was charged 3 times. There's too many errors in Omni for y'all to make it the only method of payment besides using your own cards. If any of y'all took the subway regularly, you wouldn't be increasing the fare because you wouldn't want to pay more for your own transportation. So why should we? Because you want to use the people to pay off debts that you took on during COVID, without our knowledge? Because your greed isn't satisfied with the billions you get from us every year? We are not going to let that happen. You need to get your money somewhere else from the other funding agreements that you have in your budget. You want money? Bother them. Excuse me.
Thank you for your comment. The next speaker is Jeffrey Ambrose, followed by Jeff Stubber.
Hi, good afternoon. I did a prepared statement, and I thought it was 3 minutes, but I found it's 2 minutes, so I'll get through. When the MTA raises the fares once again, and probably every other time in the future, we need a better travel experience for the buses and trains in the system to get around all of New York City. For the following, the state and the MTA needs to hold commuters who don't pay the fare fully responsible under the law. I understand the state raised funding to add more NYPD officers underground to patrol the system and to make arrests. However, it's not enough. And here's my solution. The state and the MTA needs to use the fare increases to expand the Eagle team and the NYPD Transit Bureau force within the bus and subway system by 22,000. So that way they'll be able to help protect the guests, protect the MTA workers, and to ensure entry points are covered. So that way everybody is paying the fare. So that way we won't be stuck with it every time in the future. MTA needs to use future fare increases to expand the subway system into south of Brooklyn, into Queens. We understand that IBX is coming and it's going to be great. I can't wait for it. But however, there's still areas that the IBX might not be able to cover in the future. Also, the MTA needs to use the fare increases to expand the MTA into our 2 airports. Right now, we have the AirTrain in JFK, but we don't have one in LaGuardia Airport. And it's crazy. We've done it so many times. We've talked about it, but it hasn't even gone off the ground. And I feel like the MTA needs to use the fare increases to justify that. The MTA needs to increase fares to 400%. That way, it will cover more people around New York City, and people will be able to get into the program because it's so beneficial. It's a great program, and I think the state needs to come in and help the city of New York 200% from the state, so we get that 400%, so commuters be able to use the subway and be able to pay for the subway. Also, MTA needs to use the fare increases to improve the havoc system.
Thank you for your comment. Thank you. The next speaker is Jeff Stubber, followed by Edward Poirier.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Jeff.
Okay. This is in particular response to the elimination of the 30-day pass. I am a 5-day-a-week commuter. Plus, obviously, I use the subway or buses sometimes at night or even or weekends. So I could easily exceed even the weekly cap on almost every week. The 30-day right now is $132, and with the elimination of that, it would effectively become $154 if you looked at how the $36 weekly cap would have set. That is a 17% increase, or as far as I can tell, would be the largest increase on a 30-day 30-day unlimited equivalent since it has been introduced. Cities such as Los Angeles, Portland, Columbus, Ohio, Indianapolis, Milwaukee have figured out how to do 2 or even 3 different fare caps, daily, monthly, and weekly on the same car. And that would be, it was what we were all expecting would be, or would happen before the discontinuation of Metro cards. And it's really disappointing that you're getting rid of that, because that makes it affect a huge increase on people who use the system the most. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Edward Poirier, followed by Iman Doser.
Hello. Most of the problems with the city and the state of New York, we ride the trains on a regular and daily basis from weekends to Monday through Friday, going to work, going to school, going to college, and all the types of things. The train station is basically one of the most horrible things in the New York system. I've ridden the train for years. There's no improvements. The system has been dirty for years. People with drug, paraphernalia problems, all types of individuals. There's plenty of organizations that could address these issues. What we need mainly focus is to big bank the trains so they can officially come on time and they make it when they're supposed to, so people don't have to wait 12 to 15 minutes for one train to arrive and travel across the borough. The other issues we basically face is drug needles thrown all over the system. We need cleanage in the system, as well as we don't need fare hikes. It's sadly to say, because right now, where the system's at, it is affecting our pockets. We ride the system daily, and sometimes these increases don't benefit us, those who work and travel the train system on a regulatory basis. What we are looking for is improvements in most of the system, where we do need our improvements, but we need the funding to come back to the public and fares to be brought down a bit. It's charging too much to travel New York City, and we have people who don't travel the system on a regulatory and daily basis making decisions to raise prices on a system that hasn't really been working for a lot of us who work and live in the city on a daily basis. That's pretty much it. Other things that would need improvement. Safety in the train has never really been there. We don't need security, and we don't need people being targeted for 2.90 cents to the point where they're chased down by officers and security guards. What we do need is public systems that already have addressed these issues and have organizations within the boroughs for you to collaborate with them and let them handle the problems in the situation.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Alfredo Newberg Jr., followed by David Paul Gerber.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I apologize. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I spoke earlier today. My name is Alfredo Newball Jr. I am also a veteran of the military. I brought up the issue earlier with regards to reviewing policies, with regards to assisting those who are veterans here in New York City to aid us in travel arrangements. Additionally, with the fare increases, it is for us to understand is these fare increases also in supporting towards the MTA employees and their workers who are working in these tough economic situations. It would be nice to know if that can be answered directly. Also to ask, during the times of COVID, the city operated with no issues where fares were required, even in my time of service, and it was only identified to essential workers. So we're trying to understand is how come that situation differed from times now where there can be assistance for everyone who is in some affordability crisis, and whether that can be looked at. We do need to understand the reasoning on who determined the value of $3 and the definition of affordability for everyone, as everything is still increasing based upon rent, the measures of income for food, also just for cost of living all around. But for the decisions that have been made, at this time, I think we do need to understand our elected officials too, because these things have an impact to us who are the daily New Yorkers every day in and out, and for those who have served their country. So we just want to understand what can be done to help us and to all the citizens here in New York. And thank you for your time.
The final speaker is David Paul Gerber.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. The MTA, you guys here sit on the board here. You act like you never ride the subway. Because if you did, you'd be wondering why have an announcement saying, this is an ADA accessible station, the elevator is at such and such place, when the elevator is out for long-term replacement. Now, you guys lost $750 million due to fare evasion. I remember back in the 80s, and back in the 1990s, in the Giuliani era, the MTA, New York State Transit, used to have undercover transit officers with a special bus parked a few blocks away. They'll process those who were warrants and keep them, and those who didn't have warrants will send a ticket. It's so easy. So I have a suggestion. Lower the fare to $2, so make it affordable, so everybody has no reason, no excuses not to pay the fare. That's number one. And if you do, they should face the consequences of either being summoned or arrested. Because what do? You guys are like Wile E. Coyote, and the fare evaders are like the Roadrunner. So what does Wile E. Coyote do? Think of new stupid stuff you throw away at a turnstile that does little or nothing there. And it's not fair for the people that paid that got to suffer, and those who shop and do everything, they got money, but they don't want to pay. I've seen people with MetroCards that don't wind up paying even though they try not to pay. You guys really, really, really are so sad. So very sad. Well, that's why I moved out of New York. And you know what? For those people, it's not fair for the people that got paid. And guess what? You could take that fare increase and shove it where the sun don't shine.
This concludes the public hearing. Thank you for joining us today. As a final reminder, if you're unable to attend these public hearings, there are several other ways to provide comments on the proposed changes to fare. Visit mta.forward/2025-fare-hearings for more information on how to submit a written comment on the online portal. Additionally, you can mail a letter to the MTA Government and Community Relations at 2 Broadway, 16th floor, New York, 1004, or you can call the hotlines at 646-252-6777. Telephone agents are available daily from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily. Finally, we will take public comments at 20 subway stations, mobile van locations at Long Island Railroad and Metro North stations within the service area from August 25th until Friday, September 12th.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Excuse me. Good evening. To talk about the satellite public comment sessions, we will be at the following subway stations at the following dates. Please take this down. We will be at Brooklyn at Myrtle Wyckoff Avenue on Tuesday, August 26th from 4 to 6 p.m. We will be in the Bronx and Fordham Road on Wednesday, September 10th, 4 to... I absolutely can. We will be first in Brooklyn at Myrtle Wyckoff Station on Tuesday, August 26th from 4 to 6 p.m. In the Bronx, we will be at Fordham Road on Wednesday, September 10th from 4 to 6 p.m. In Manhattan, we will be at 34th Street Penn Station on Friday, September 5th 4 to 6 p.m. We will be at 168th Street Station on Monday, September 8th, from 4 to 6 p.m. On Staten Island, we will be at St. George's Terminal on Monday, August 25th, from 4 to 6 p.m. In Queens, we will be at Far Rockaway Station on Monday, August 25th, from 4 to 6 p.m., and also at Jackson Heights Roosevelt Avenue on Wednesday, September 3rd, from 4 to 6 p.m. In addition, we will be at satellite public comment locations at our mobile van locations. And these are located in neighborhoods where our customers mainly rely on buses. In Brooklyn, we will be at the Flatlands at Kings Plaza Shopping Mall on Tuesday, September 2nd from 2 to 4 p.m. These are times that are already set and customers already know to come to these locations. In the Bronx, we will be at Co-op City on Thursday, September 4th, from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. In Manhattan, we will be at Catherine Street and Madison Street in the Lower East Side on Wednesday, September 3rd, from 10 to 12 p.m. We will also be at Harlem at the New York State Office Building right outside on Wednesday, September 10th, from 10 to 12 p.m. In Staten Island, we will be at New Springville at Yukon Avenue on Tuesday, September 2nd, from 10 to 12 p.m. In Queens, we will be at Bay Terrace Shopping Center on Monday, September 8th from 10 to 11, and at Fresh Meadow Shopping Center on that same date, Monday, September 8th from 1 to 2 p.m. For our satellite public comment locations for our railroad customers, we will be at Jamaica Station at Wednesday, August 27th from 4 to 6 p.m. We will be at Babylon Station on Thursday, August 28th from 4 to 6 p.m. We will be at the Metro North Station at Beacon on Monday, August 25th from 5 to 7 p.m. We will be at Harriman Station on Tuesday, August 26th from 5 to 7 p.m. We will be at Nanuet Station on Tuesday, September 9th from 5 to 7 p.m. We will also be at White Plains Station on Wednesday, September 10th from 4 to 6 p.m. And finally, we will be at Grand Central Madison on Friday, September 12th from 4 to 6 p.m. All of these locations can be found at www.mta.info/transparency/public hearings/2025-fair-changes. Thank you all so much, and we hope to see you and your neighbors out. Thank you.
The time is 7:11. This concludes the public hearing. Thank you for your participation.